the 10th round of boxing for the WBO Asia Pacific Cruiserweight title. Ladies and gentlemen, referees and judges are ready. Boxers are ready. The million fans of Kazakhstan and the world, are you ready? Introducing it first, fighting out of the red corner, he stands 185 centimeters tall, official weighing in 90 kilograms, 600 grams. Professional record of the boxer, 23 wins, 1 loss, 9 wins by way of knockout. Fighting out the Russia, please welcome Server Emurlaiev! His opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, he stands 191 centimeters tall, official weighing in 90 kilograms, 700 grams. Professional record, 2 wins, no losses, 2 wins by way of knockout. He is a 2-time Asian and World Championship finalist, captain of Olympic boxing team of Republic of Kazakhstan, fighting out the Kizilorda, Kazakhstan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kamshybek, Kunkabayev!
Боксеры, слушайте мою команду. Правила не нарушаем. Пожали руки. Удачи.
Latest opportunity then to see Kamshybek Kunkabayev unbeaten in 2 so far. First thing you note, Server Emurlaiev, who's fought largely at super middleweight, much the smaller man, looks a bit fleshy too, Barry, so that the big question is, can he stand up to the power and the intimidating presence of Kunkabayev, who we called on his debut?
Well, he's come out firing, that's a positive sign, isn't it? He's come out, maybe he's going to give it a go. That's for sure. We just got to be a little bit smarter with this attack. He doesn't walk into anything silly. That's all. Kunkabayev, you know, not just a big puncher, not just a good boxer. His timing's really good.
Yeah, we were impressed with him on his debut. He was pretty much allowed to do everything he wanted that night. His opponent boxed on the back foot, and eventually he caught him with a left hook to the body. He threw that same shot when he became the first man to stop Sergei Radchenko. First time a Ukrainian had been stopped. I think he's been well matched, hasn't he? He's been put in fights where potentially he can look good, and I think this is another one against the 35-year-old Emurlaiev, who'd had that 8-year hiatus from 2012 when he lost a WBA interim world title fight. On that occasion, he was so furious with the split decision that went against him, he just walked away from the sport. He said, "That's it, I've had enough."
Wouldn't be the first,
no,
that's for sure.
But he's come back, and 2 fights in a week. Be careful what you wish for.
Well, he came out on the bell and he threw a few punches, and he tried to be a little bit aggressive, but obviously missed. Kind of jumping to attacks against Kunkabayev, but yeah, it's been a little bit quiet ever since here.
But he does have an intimidating presence, Kunkabayev, as well as a stellar amateur career to call on as well. You look out for that left hand. He throws it really well against the orthodox fighter, right under the right elbow. That's been a feature of his 2 fights so far.
That's good for him there as well. You throw that left hand, but it's just at the chest there, just trying to slow the movement down here. Just missing with that left hand again there.
And to say he's been well matched, and what I mean is 2 of his 3 opponents so far, including Emurlaiev, those 2 opponents had really good records, fought at a decent level, won all bar 1 of their fights, so they'd only lost, and this guy in an interim world title fight. So on paper,
yes,
they look great, although they don't necessarily tell the whole story.
This is the perfect example. Emurlaiev, only 1 defeat, isn't it? But hasn't boxed for really 1 fight in almost 10 years.
Busy keeping out of danger in that first round. Emurlaiev with plenty of footwork.
It's a movement for a big guy like that. That's going to be hard if as the rounds progress. Emurlaiev, obviously naturally smaller, but I might be a little bit faster fleeted but having to move around like that under that intimidating pressure of Kunkabayev is going to be a struggle.
And you can see he's going to try what he can do, Emurlaiev. So much the smaller man, as you can see, but he's using that and his footwork.
Just see Kunkabayev there though, can you quicken the feet a little bit, just to close the gap a little bit quicker.
A shake of the hands and the shoulders, trying to loosen himself up, try and flow, find some rhythm, Kunkabayev.
It's a lovely jab. Also just a little step with it as well, didn't he? There's that left hand underneath the elbows that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that was more of a straighter shot, wasn't it? But he really does find he's very, very accurate with that. And he does have that sort of intimidating presence. Strong right hand to the body. That seemed to perturb Emurlaiev.
Well, what he does with that jab, because the jab's so heavy from Kunkabayev, it's not a knockout punch, but because it's so heavy, it almost stops you from countering it, because you literally it's putting you on your heels every time. Whether it hits you on the chin or the chest. Pushes you back. A little bit of the alley shuffle there from Emurlaiev.
And
the similarities end there though.
Yeah. Well, let's hope this year we're going to get a chance to see more boxing, because there's quite a few of these really in the heavier weights, sort of heavy, super heavy, and thereabouts. There's quite a few fighters, top quality amateurs from this part of the world, often who fought against each other, like Kunkabayev. I mentioned Jalilov, he's unbeaten in 7, I think, as a pro now. Bakatir Jalilov, the Uzbek, Majidov, Tishenko as well, sort of Olympic and world champion from Russia as well. There's quite a few.
Who's cruiserweight now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. There's quite a few of those guys who knew of each other, fought each other round about the same weight, so thereabouts, all turning pro now and starting to make their way in the game. So there's going to be interesting times.
It's good steady pressure here from Kunkabayev. Really is. He hasn't rushed his work, and he's well within himself, but because the jab is so solid, just makes it so hard for Emurlaiev just to get a little breathing space. You see him here walk back to the corner, absolutely shattered after only 2 rounds.
And after so long out of the game, hard to get back to the kind of real fitness that's required to be in there, particularly against a guy with the talent and presence of Kunkabayev.
Yeah, it's not so much the punch, it's just the sheer pressure all the time. His back's always on the rope, not giving a second's rest, and Kunkabayev isn't barely out of first gear.
Yeah, it's a kind of quiet intensity about that pressure. There's a presence, and with that comes pressure.
That's good there from Kunkabayev. Look at that. Emurlaiev gets a little bit of not success, but gets a little adventurous, and that just now he's relaxed and he's found his range with Kunkabayev. He just fires back in combinations. He's been picking in shots, single shots, and all of a sudden then it's a 4-punch rally.
Yeah, you fancy now as Kunkabayev manages to pin him to the ropes, almost swiped him with the left hand. Emurlaiev, to be fair, was happy to exchange with him there, but I was just about to say, I think Emurlaiev's maybe just settling into his role tonight, realises it.
Well, except for those jumping in with attacks, you know, he's not really much coming back, is there? No, and he knows now if he just takes a step back, particularly with the back foot, let the front foot slide into position again, then he evades everything. So I think he's well aware of what's coming back and just being a little bit more adventurous with his work. Kunkabayev still taking his time. Just important not to relent at all, just keep slowly turning the screw.
Yeah, just a little reminder, the jab came back from Emurlaiev, sort of pot-shotting himself to get any sort of success he can. Short right hook there from Kunkabayev.
He's just physically too small, isn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Emurlaiev,
two different weights, aren't they? He's asked a few questions against Radchenko back in December, Kunkabayev. He's a bit scrappier fight because of that, and he didn't quite look as polished and controlled as he had done on debut, and indeed as he does tonight.
Just like seeing him come back now with a hook.
Into round 4 then. You'd imagine Emurlaiev might have got a few quid more, given the fact that opponent was required for the top of the bill at just a few days' notice. Let's hope so. What's the kind of mindset for him, Barry, now that he's in there against a bigger guy?
Yeah, it's you try and pick his spots, don't you? He knows you've had a little bit of success, only minor against when he's jumped to attacks. So he's thinking about sliding in low, I would have thought, and trying to punch in flurries, but whilst moving around the body, which he did one time really well. But I think also what's important for him against a bigger guy is to avoid any of those long, big shots, and that's what he's been trying to do, and that's what he's been doing. Not too badly, actually. He's been riding some of the shots. But for Kunkabayev now, for him, it's just start throwing in combinations now. To keep him straight, you got to come back with a hook. Just lean that head over the front foot a little bit, not too far over when you throw that left hand, and then come back with that right hook.
And although the hands are low from Kunkabayev, his footwork, he always just seems to get himself out of range.
Yeah, he retreats in little steps, so yeah, and that gives him the opportunity then maybe to fire back then if someone falls short. But again, you just got to be careful he doesn't get stuck into a rhythm. Now of just picking the shots. The pressure was good without rushing his work, but if you do that for 7 rounds, then it's just not doing enough.
Somewhere over in Belfast, the quiet man, Stevie Ward, is saying, come and pick on someone your own size.
Well, he would have had more success, I'm pretty sure of that.
Still might. That fight might, perhaps will get made should Kunkabayev come through this one, which he is comfortably so far, and gets through with a short left hand.
I don't think it troubled Emurlaiev though, to be fair. I think the weight of the shot knocked him over, knocked him to the side a bit, but I don't think it was actually do with too much of the power.
And to be fair to Emurlaiev, he's not been overly adventurous, but he's not gone completely into his shell.
No, well, there's single shots coming at him, so he can every now and again he can mount an attack. I think Kunkabayev is accurate, and the shots are, some of them are meaty, but the onus is on Kunkabayev now to start putting his punches together.
Maybe trying to do that now.
He's mastered the distance now. He knows where he is, and he's comfortable with that. Nothing's coming back that's really worrying him. So
at the start of the round with a swiping left hand, and there you can see it was a kind of reactionary left hand that he landed, Kunkabayev. Maybe that was part of the reason that it didn't have a big effect.
he's boxing well. It's not standout though great, but it's economical and effective, and he's boxing with ease and winning everything, and then there's no danger or pressure at all. So that all those things are what you want for your fighter as a trainer, but also you can see it's in him now to start to do a bit of a better job. He's had long enough to look at Emurlaiev and what he has to offer, and it doesn't seem like it's enough to really trouble Kunkabayev unless he makes a real silly mistake. So I think he can start being a little bit more adventurous. And again, we talk about trying to sell yourself to the wider audience, and I think that would bode well for him now if he didn't just box within himself throughout the fight and sort of made a bit more of a concerted effort to maybe try and get this guy out of here, because I think it's in his capabilities.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and it's a point you made just as a general one about maybe some of the good amateurs in this part of the world, what we've seen early on in their pro careers. He's come out maybe with a bit of intensity, maybe he's just quickened things up, little sharpness in the feet at the start of this fifth round.
What I would say, it's a mindset, because they're so gifted in Kazakhstan fighters, and they're so technically very good, and they are, but it's all based around the computer scoring, which I know has changed that, but the amateur scoring of don't take any silly risks, don't give away any points, don't take away silly shots, because it's all about picking up points more than doing more damage, where the pros is a little bit different. If you can't knock anyone out like I couldn't, and you haven't got the power, then you don't try and fight that way. You don't take the silly risks. You don't try and up the gears too much, or you throw in volume. But when you have a guy like this, I don't think Kunkabayev is a KO artist, but he has enough weight in his shots to make you feel it, and he's in control. So why wouldn't he just want to start exerting himself a little bit more on the fight?
Yeah, I think you can afford to, and particularly in the land of the bigger men. And
it's a good division to be in to sell yourself.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you and I have been talking over the last couple of years about, surely it's only a matter of time before the setup in the amateurs that has seen them, win 4 medals at the last Olympics, 6 medals at the last World Championships. Yeah. That it's only a matter of time before that translates into world titles.
And also, you can't, obviously, I'm just going to say the obvious, underestimate the importance of Gennady Golovkin, of course, how he's shown.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just a pipe dream, no, it's literally, it's a tangible thing you can see. And not just, talking about style and the way you get it done. Of course, that was the very much the story of Golovkin, wasn't it? That was how eventually he went from being a long-standing world champion who wasn't necessarily getting the fruits of his labour to suddenly being the big drama show on and on TV, selling out in America, the kind of must-see fighter, and suddenly that translates into dollars as well. But boxing's a sport full of dreamers, and you have to have a dream to believe in. And some of these kids from Kazakhstan years ago, there was no way they were going to get over to America to be a pro and be the best on the planet. So they just they had their aspirations were Olympics, and that was it. But now they know they can do it. So that's a different dream, a different aspiration, a different desire, and you'll get another superstar from Kazakhstan in whenever it is. But you will get one, I guarantee at least.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Question of when, not if. Well, we're bridging halfway, and I must admit, when you saw them size up against each other, you looked over the overall sort of weight that Emurlaiev's fought at through the bulk of his career, the fact that he's coming back off an 8-year break, you must admit, you did think that maybe Kunkabayev would put on a bit of a show tonight. There's an element of cruising at cruiserweight in this one.
For a man in only his 3rd fight, boxing a man in his 25th fight, then it's a standout performance, let's be honest, and especially the guy who's only lost one. But you've seen glimpses of Kunkabayev, and you have a feeling that he might go on to be a really good fighter in the professional ranks, so you want to see more of him. And you can clearly see he's boxing within himself, which is great to be able to do that. But you have to know this is your time to show people how good you are now. You want to cross over to other regions and be someone who's spoken about for contender at a certain level. But this is your opportunity. If it's not in you to do it, we wouldn't criticise you. But it's in you. We can see it. It's in there. So show us.
Well, I suppose it's calling what you're seeing rather than necessarily criticising. The flip side of that is also it does partly depend on who you're in against, and not just what they're bringing to the table, but what they are able to do to negate that as well. And certainly Emurlaiev, smaller, maybe a little bit faster, knows enough to make sure that he's not necessarily in too much danger.
Good shot there from Emurlaiev. But he hasn't shown enough that you can do more than what you're doing. That's what I feel. And you judge a talent more harshly than you judge someone you don't think is going to go places. But saying that, he's also, is dictating everything, and the jab's been lovely for him tonight so far.
There you saw him, just looking to he was looking for that shot, wasn't he? And he couldn't quite pick it, and Emurlaiev was gone.
Well, that was better there from Kunkabayev. He actually, he missed with the left hand. It was the right idea. He took that half a step back again, but rather than just wait, he threw the shot. It's a good shot.
It is a good shot. A single shot again.
There you go. Come back with the hook there. He sort of leaned. He leaned with it then, but he leaned a little bit too far back too soon to just take the sting off the shot. We're putting his punches together now with a little bit more authority here. Kunkabayev.
Oh, there's the right hook. That's the punch that Barry been asking for all night. And it was because he landed the left hand first that he was on the right side to then come back with the right hook. And for the first time, Kunkabayev really getting through and making a bit of an impression.
But you know what did that? Obviously, he come back with the hook, but he'd been throwing his punches in clusters a little bit more. So he'd been relaxed, throwing his punches in bunches, and that's made it harder for Emurlaiev to read his work. He's looking to survive more than maybe looking to fire back now and again.
Earning his money though, Emurlaiev, I tell you, he's spitting back little shots of defiance as well.
Well, he could have went down then, couldn't he? If he was just in for the payday, he could have just went down. Just getting a little bit too close there, Kunkabayev.
Yeah, slightly clubbing him. And he landed another clubbing right hand, and that was right on the bell. And there was a little shake of the head, whether that was because it landed heavy or perceived late. Maybe we'll see in between rounds.
I had horrible visions of Emurlaiev just jumping on the floor knowing the punch was late.
But he didn't. He did trudge back to his corner. He's shaking his head again there. Whether he's saying, no, not enjoying this now. Yes, there we are. There's that shake of the head. You wondered whether it was a tell or whether it was just a reaction. And in the end, we've got our answer. And that's it. He just started to quicken the tempo, but more importantly, he started to let his hands go. He started to put his shots together.
But how much better does he look when he puts it, when he does let those punches go? Like, I understand you don't do it in the first 2 rounds and take silly risks, but he got the good finish, and it's a great win for him. And it is, and he put his punch together lovely. Not just the finishing couple of shots, but also the combination just before that, where he was loose, relaxed, and flowing in flurries. He could have done that 3 rounds earlier at this level, I think. That's all I would say. So he boxes within himself, and that's great. And he's very good, and he punches enough sting in his shots to hurt you. And he's a talent. But if he would have done that 3 rounds earlier, you couldn't criticise him one iota. It was a great performance. But on the whole picture of it, he just beat the guy who's only lost once in 24 fights up to this point. And he dominated with so much ease. It was almost like a sparring session for him, and then got him out of there when he decided to up the gears. So in that respect, it's nothing but a fantastic performance.
It's a fantastic robe as well. What a cracker. That could become his trademark, couldn't it? If he continues up the ladder.
And also, if he gets beat, he can always use the Deontay Wilder excuse and say he was a bit too heavy on the ring walk.
Don't know if he's the type for that. That is an absolute cracker. That could become a selling point. So he looks the part, and there's no doubt in the ring, in spells, he absolutely looks the part. And in the end, in the finish, he produced what was required. And hopefully we'll see more of that as he builds towards being a better fighter.
He's a talent. It's clear to see just his composure in the ring, everything about him. You can see he's a clear talent, and and that's why I'm probably overcritical because of that. I feel, but when he decided to put his foot on the pedal, he was fantastic.
And retired of the red corner of round 7, and the new WBO Asia Pacific Cruiserweight Champion, representing Kızılorda, Kamshybek, Kamsha, Kunkabayev.
Only 3 fights in, and he's got his hands on some silverware.